taker. Okay, I'm going to go pretty quick through our little intro. This is our final day. So you can probably sense, for those who've been able to watch the last 2 days, it's building up into today. It's really important when we approach our business, we understand there's multiple layers. There's our perspective, there's our paradigm, and then there's the actual getting in and building and getting into the applying. So today is going to be about the applying, but I'm still taking this from a pretty high level place because, like we talked about yesterday, it's very easy to be given a strategy that's sending you to walk straight forward into a mountain that it's going to take you resources you do not have to climb that mountain. And that is one of the biggest challenges I have found with small businesses. So instead, today, I'm going to show you how to walk along beside the riverbed. I'm going to give you the strategies that's going to fit the resources you actually have and the operational capacity you have and the strengths that you have. So that's what today's going to be all about. Quick recap. First day, we went into business market fit. You probably have a good sense now of why it's so important to understand not just the product or service you're offering, but also the job you're doing in your industry or your community. We need to be hired. If we want to have a business, we need to be sending out the right resume and we need to be consistently being hired. And that means we need to put on our CMO hat and we need to be able to step into the point of view of our market. First step is figuring out which kind of business you are. In technical marketing terms, this is called positioning. And there's really like stereotypical positionings. When you're a marketer, you actually do not reinvent most things. You just reference your charts and reference the known models and you go off of that. So this is our reference that we've created now. Experience, everyday, or expertise style businesses. And as you've been sitting with it, you can probably sense nothing is ever black and white. Nothing is clear cut. It's about creating clarity for yourself and then committing to a direction. When you do that, your market will sense it. Yesterday, we went into the market confidence pyramid. We talked a lot about systems. It was a big system talk about whether you are choosing to build a jobby or you're choosing to build a business. And if you are choosing to build a business, you are choosing to build systems. But also, before we can get into building those systems, we need to have the right strategy. Like I said a minute ago, we can try and head straight forward over a mountain in an organizational strategy that's designed for someone who has a team behind them and has the luxury of startup funds. Like sometimes I see those loans and grants and I'm like, oh yeah, 50K would be lovely. This would be a completely different experience. Most of us are bootstrapping. And that's just the reality. And it's a really beautiful opportunity and journey, but it means that we need to go on a bootstrapping path, which means we're going to go by the riverbed and we're going to flow with it instead of trying to work against it and then blaming ourselves for not being able to execute that strategy. So today, what we're going to get into is the strategies. And I think I mentioned it yesterday. As much as it is possible to bring in someone like me who can go into your business and say, oh, okay, taking into account all of these things and taking into account the marketing, I can tell you, here's your strategy. That's great. But most of us, again, we're bootstrapping. We don't have the money to bring in a consultant like me or to spend 6 months trying to figure this out on our own. And the other piece of it is we don't need to. We only need the 20%. We do not need a full high-level strategy. As much as I love getting paid to come in and make a 20-page strategy for a business, which I absolutely love to do, that can wait for later. Our job is to get ourselves stabilized so that we have consistent cash flow. We know what people want. We know what we're offering, and we have those 3 core systems built: lead conversion, lead generation, lead conversion, and fulfillment. We don't need huge strategies, which means I can standardize our strategies and I can point us all in the right direction, depending on which kind of business we are. So it's not all one big group. And this is what we're going to go into today. Each of these blocks we're going to go into. We're going to talk about what a brand strategy is, content, funnel, and go to market. And then we're going to talk about them individually. Your marketing stack is built brick by brick, and you're going to put in the bricks that are appropriate to your style business. And that's going to help you send out that resume that's going to actually reflect the job you want to be hired for. So that is what we're going into today, which is why it is going to be a lot of information. It's going to be dense. It's going to be less of the mindset piece. We focused a lot on that the last 2 days. Now it's just going to be an information dump. I hope your brains have had a lot of caffeine, or you're just like naturally a morning person, or come back and watch on the replay. So today's focus, first, we're going to talk about our marketing meetings. I am sorry if you have been in a container with me and you've listened to me say this. I think almost everybody has. I am going to keep saying it until this is in the calendar of every small business owner I know, because that is when I know I am doing my job. So we're going to talk about our three marketing meetings we want to have for our businesses so that we are doing our marketing. Then we're going to go into the 4 strategies in the marketing stack. We've touched on them: brand, content, funnel, go to market. These are going to be running in your head consistently after today. And I'm going to break down what a marketing stack looks like for each type of business. Again, when I do this in a program, we do it over 4 weeks or over 4 trainings, and I can go into it more in depth. But today I want to be able to point you in the right direction. If you're someone who's already in a program with me or you're working with me one-on-one, this is what we're going to build. This is what we're working at. If you're not, I can at least point you in the direction so you're not trying to climb over the mountain and you're headed in the right direction that's going to help you as you move forward in your business. So my big point here, this is another soapbox. I have like a whole list of soapbox I get on. Marketing isn't something you have. Quite often, that's one of the perspectives we have. Oh yeah, I need to get better marketing. Marketing is operational. It's something you do. It's not a checklist. It's not a set of assets, website, posts, or logo, although marketing assets are important. It's a living, ongoing connection to your market. There's a synergy, there's a live current with marketing. It's a verb, right? It's part of what you need to be doing as a business owner. And this is one of the reasons you really cannot contract it out to somebody else. That's like having a partner and asking someone else to step in to keep that partnership going. It just does not work. You need to own the marketing, and then you can bring in people to help with portions of it. And we talked a lot about that yesterday. So marketing is going to be built through consistent, intentional activity. I am all about intentionality. And when we plug that into our marketing, that's when we stop being as frustrated and overwhelmed by it, and we start to see ROI and we start to really like it. I promise it actually can be a lot of fun. So here's our marketing meetings. Everybody I work with, everybody who I can get their ear for a couple of minutes, I tell them to put these in their calendars. Once a year, you want a really big dive. You want to do an annual marketing plan. It's a great time to review where your business has been, to really see the type of data and feedback you've collected from people that you've worked with, from how your business has been performing. And then you want to look ahead to what are your business goals for the next year. I tend to do this in January myself. I also run a group program that I do it in. This is going to take, you want to earmark probably about 10 to 15 hours. It's worth it. This will set you up for a completely different experience every year. And the winter tends to be a nice time where activity tends to be low, so you can kind of sink into it and you're still investing in your business, even if you're not busy and delivering. Once a month, you should have a monthly plan and you should batch your content. Content, you can't get away with it. You can't get away without doing content unless you really, really love networking and you have a lot of time to be going out and constantly being there in person, which most of us, as soon as we turn to marketing, that's actually what we're trying to get away from. So what's going to replace that is going to be content. So just realistically, you're going to need to produce content. The best way to do it is to sit down once a month, look ahead to what you have to put out, decide on what your goals for your content are, and then give yourself probably about a half day, anywhere between 3 to 4 or 5 hours, depending on what you're putting out and how quick you are. And then it's done. Then you can breathe for the next 4 weeks, knowing that your content is going out and that you don't have to come back to it. It's going to perform, it's going to do what it does, and your brain can go to the rest of your business. I actually just started doing a monthly content planning lab that's drop-in for $40 where I help people go through this because I know it can be an easy thing to keep putting off. So at least consider when you're going to start doing this in your calendar. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how much work you do understanding marketing. If you are not doing your marketing, you're not going to get any results for it. And only about once a week, I should get better at this myself, but minimum once a week, give yourself an hour and a half where you know that you're going to go check your channels, you're going to comment, you're going to respond. If you are looking to network online, connect with other businesses for potential partnerships, you can start popping up on their posts. You can start organically building the connections. And when you schedule this in as something you do regularly once a week, just give yourself an hour and a half. It will help build up the consistency, and that makes it a lot easier to keep that connection alive, either with your current audience or with new potential partners or new potential audience members that you're connecting to and you're growing that relationship with. So really, as much as there is a lot to marketing as small business owners, we can get away with starting with this. If you plug this in, you are ahead of 80% of other small businesses. This is going to really start helping you see a huge result. Marketing is, I would say, almost 60% consistency. You do not have to be perfect. And the beautiful thing is when you start showing up, you're going to start learning. So you're going to improve just by consistently posting or making your content once a month. You'll get quicker, you'll get better, you'll see insights. This consistency is what's going to really bring you to the results that you're looking for your marketing. So now that I've done that soapbox, we're going to dig into the marketing stack. I absolutely love this model. This is like 6 years of my brain put into one image made on Canva. It's incredible how much there is behind the simplicity of this. So like I've said, there's 4 main strategies. We're going to do brand, content, funnel, and go to market. And what these 4 strategies do is they become the base for those 2 marketing systems you need out of your core systems, your 3 core systems: lead generation, lead conversion, and fulfillment. Lead generation and conversion, they're going to be taken care of with these strategies. And there's individual approaches we want to use depending on the type of business we are. So our strategies essentially, you'll notice that these are all to do with your market. We are building and cultivating an ongoing dynamic relationship with our market. So everything we do in these strategies has to do with our market and our business. Your go-to-market strategy is you engaging with your market. It's you finding out where they are and how you are directly going to get into a space or an opportunity to have a direct engagement with them. Your brand strategy is you building a reputation with your market. This is a piece I always tell people, whether you are conscious and intentionally building a brand or not, you are building a brand. Every time you have a conversation, every time you put out a post, every time you send an email, you are building a reputation. This is one of the reasons where brand can be the most intangible and it's easy to skip it. But if you do not make it conscious and intentional for yourself, you are going to be at the mercy of whatever brand you are unintentionally building in your market. So brand is really important, even though it doesn't seem like something that we apply as directly. Your content strategy is connecting with your market. It's your communication with it. Sometimes larger businesses and organizations use the term communication strategy. Lots of overlap. This is why instead of having to constantly be out networking or showing up and having direct connection and communication, you can start leveraging digital channels when you start building up your content strategy. And then our last one is our funnel strategy, and this is the invitation to your market. So we've engaged with the market, with the go-to-market. They get to know that we exist. We have a brand we're intentionally cultivating, a reputation we're building with this market. We're connecting with the market through our content. They're getting to know, like, and trust us, which I'm going to get into. And then we get to put out an invitation to the market to move into a business relationship with us. We don't have to push. We don't have to be super salesy. We don't have to be persuasive and try to use all the hooks and all the scarcity mindsets. It's an invitation. This is one of the beauties of marketing. And I find people who tend to be a little more heart-centered and a little more, I'm tempted to use the word, have more integrity, but we're just not as interested in trying to push ourselves and push our products and services on people. Marketing is the way you build your business without having to do that, because you're doing other work where you're showing the value and people are getting to opt in and getting to choose. And that's what the marketing stack allows you to build, is a marketing system where you're giving the right people everything they need to get to pull forward towards your business. Authenticity, and like there's a sales energy that it's very, you know what it is? It's transactional versus relational. This is relational marketing. this is where you're not just trying to get one quick sale, and you're not just trying to be like, okay, how do I say exactly the right thing at exactly the right time to take down their barriers and make sure they put their credit card on the line right now, because I know if they wait 30 minutes, they're not giving it to me. That's one form of business, and most of us do not want to go in that direction. Instead, we want it to be where someone's like, please take my credit card. Just take my credit card and make sure I get in with you because I want to be in with you. And this is how you build that. Because I also know most of us have poured so much into our product or service that the people who we work with are like, this is amazing. This is so good. And you don't need to have to persuade them and to make it transactional in order to get that result. You know, you stand behind your product or service. You just need your marketing to help you put that out there so the right fit people can come forward. So let's get into the nitty gritty of a marketing stack. We're going to go into my pretend brands. I have 3 of them now. This is the Bean There Cafe. It is our everyday cafe. It is the place in town where people stop first thing in the morning. They grab their coffee on the way to work. They might stop in for a quick lunch if they work close by. They're nice, but they're basic. They're not trying to be Instagram worthy. They're just a plain everyday cafe that is folded into the everyday lives of their people. Our experience-based business is down the street from the Bean There Cafe. I think I'm constructing a pretend town in my head. Like, I'm going to have the mayor, I'm sure, is going to pop up eventually. It's a whole thing that's existing in my head. So the Zen Den is our experience-based business. It's a yoga studio. It's a couple blocks down from the Bean There Cafe. Sometimes they partner. There's a whole backstory happening here. And our expertise-based business is loosely based on Jade. This is our optometry consultant, and she runs Clearview Consulting, which I thought was an incredibly clever name. I was very happy with that one. So those are going to be our pretend brands as we walk through this, so you can really understand what it looks like applied to an actual business. And the Bean There Cafe is definitely a brick and mortar. The Zen Den is a hybrid. I really have a lot of backstory happening for this. So the Zen Den offers in-person yoga classes, but they also offer an online yoga class membership as well. And our Clearview Consulting is purely based online, but she's focused in her geographic region of her local city clusters. So I want you to understand that these type of strategies are they're based on businesses. They're based on independent small businesses. It doesn't matter if you're online or if you're brick and mortar or if you're a hybrid. They work all the ways. Okay. So brand strategy, like we've been talking about, this is the reputation of your business in your community or your market. Again, you're creating this whether you have defined it or not. And often this is one of the hiccups that we get into, where a lot of the times we go into entrepreneurship because there's a level of self-expression we didn't feel was accessible in whatever our previous avenues were. And so when we have to define our brand, we can feel a little bit of resistance where it's like, no, I just want to be me. Can't I just show up as me? Isn't that what I'm trying to do? And this is where we need to put on our jobbyist hat or our business builder hat. It's a choice we get to do, where we can show up as a jobbyist and just show up as ourselves. But if we want steady cash flow and that type of congruence, we need to show up with intentionality, and we need to make something that is going to be in alignment with a business, not just a person. So it's still always going to be based on integrity and authenticity, but now it becomes about curation and focus. When I talk about your brand, there's 3 main parts, and a lot of you have been exposed to this already. We're going to talk about vision, voice, and value. That's all we need. Again, like I said, we only need the 20% of marketing. That's going to get us the 80% of the results that we're looking for. And when it comes to your brand, this is the 20%. Your vision is defining what your business stands for and where it's going. The question I like to use with people is, if in 10 years, you've built this business and it has realistically gone really well. There's challenges, there's hiccups, there's things you don't predict, but it's gone how you hope for it to go. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What kind of impact is it making? That's your vision. That's a really important piece you want to know, you want to be conscious of, and you want to intentionally build into your business. This is what people are really going to buy into. I mentioned it yesterday, I believe, where if you're looking to fit with people that feel like your kind of people, this is what makes it clear for them whether you're a match for the values and the paradigms that you hold. You need to get clear on your vision and put it into your brand. Your voice is pretty much your personality. And one of the missteps we make before we define our brand is that we bring our whole personality to our business sometimes. And we're full people. We have a full range. Everybody has a full range. Some days are up, some days are down. Sometimes we hate everybody, sometimes we love everybody. Lots of different options there. But when we are trying to connect to our audience and we're trying to get them to hire us to do a job, we want to pick 2 to 3 core personality traits and we want to stick with that. And one of the nice things about your brand is if you go back and look at feedback you've been given, you look at testimonials or just emails people have sent to you, you're going to start to see reoccurring themes of what people love. They'll say, oh my gosh, I really liked your energy. I really liked how positive you are. I really like how you explain this really well. You're going to start to see the pieces that the people who did hire you for, which of your personality traits were the trigger for them that made them go, yes, this person is the person for me. So that's your voice. And then this is what helps to start feed things like a custom GPT. When you define your voice and you have 2 to 3 adjectives, you train the custom GPT that this is our brand voice, and then it always builds that into the posts, to the messaging, to the emails, that type of thing. And the last one is the value. This is about more than the features, which is usually where we start off. We describe like 3 60-minute Zoom calls, or it's this size or this many grams. Those are the features of our product and service. But when we talk about the value of our product or service, we need to make it really clear why customers should choose you. What problem do you solve and how are you different? So there's different levels of value. There's the functional, what you help people do, but then there's the emotional. It's how do you make them feel compared to somebody else who might offer the same thing? How do you transform their lives? So the everyday for the Bean There Cafe, they're probably going to be more like they feel, I'm going to go with the stereotype, cheers, everyone knows your name, right? So yes, you're getting coffee, but the emotional benefit is that this feels like your third space. You know the barista, they're going to notice if you haven't been in for a week because you've been sick. That's an emotional value that you're giving. That's a very different type of value than just a cup of coffee. So those are our 3 pieces of our brand: vision, voice, and value. That's what you want to get a sense of. You want to define it and you want to fold it into your brand strategy. And then, depending on the type of business you are, you're going to focus on achieving different angles of your brand, different kinds of brands. So for an everyday business like the Bean There Cafe, they're going to be utility. They really want to make sure that their brand is based on reliability. They're not like, we're cool and swanky and hip. We're reliable, we're everyday, we will show up, we will let you know if there's a problem, we will let you know if something's happening. We are very utility based. For an experience brand, it's going to be very much on the lifestyle. You're going to really lean into the values and the emotional storytelling behind that. So for the Zen Den, they aren't going to lean as heavily around things like their hours and here's how many yoga mats we have available. They're going to be talking about the lifestyle, to live with intentionality and to be holistic. For an expertise, thought leadership. This is like, you guys have picked it up with me. The reason you immediately went, oh yeah, Cheyenne's an expertise, even though there's elements of my energy and my lifestyle that I know I connect with a lot of people on, it's a very deep part of my business. Because I am intentionally putting a thought leader brand out there, that is your primary association with me. I can very easily lean into the lifestyle. It's more my natural personality where I am very soft and holistic, and it's about how you live. But because I'm intentionally cultivating a thought leadership brand, honestly, so I can get organizations to hire me and take in my solutions so I can reach more people. This is the difference between how you present. You will always have a vision, voice, and value, but you will make sure you're anchoring them into achieving this kind of resume, depending on the type of business you are. So that's our brand. Content strategy is that communication that you use with your audience to build a connection. 3 points of this is we're going to try and create know, like, and trust. That's your main point. This is when we go out and network or we go to a vendor sale, we create know, like, and trust very naturally. to the right people. And that's why people move forward with us. What we then want to start doing is having the same impact with our content. So for now, this is about things like introducing your business, your product and service, your brand personality, so that potential customers understand what you do and why it matters. We run with an assumption that people know what we offer. I am horribly guilty for this. I've had people have to chase me down. And actually, I think this is what Jade had to do, chase me down in a LinkedIn message and be like, so how do I work with you? Because we don't put it front and center enough. It doesn't mean you promote it. It's not about pushing people, but it's about making it very clear that this is what I do. This is how we can work together. If you ever see those posts that really well done social media businesses put out, it's, oh, I noticed there's new people in the audience. Let me introduce myself. They're making sure you get to know them. Like is going to be showing the human side of your business, especially on social media. There is always a place for this. Your story, behind the scenes, and real examples. This is also one of the strengths of being an independent small business is there's a real person behind it. So you want to lean into this because this is one of our most powerful positions that we have. Trust, you're going to share proof that you're great at what you do. This is sharing testimonials, social proof, case studies, and educational content. And you will see, depending on the kind of business, you're going to lean heavier into one of these categories. An everyday business, your content strategy needs to be giving consistent information. Remember, you're trying to be hired to do an everyday business, everyday job in someone's life. You want to show up with your marketing in the same kind of way. Let them know what the store hours are. Let them know if there's any upcoming closing dates because of holidays. Let them know about upcoming specials. Small drips of consistent information. So they're going to lean heavy into the know content. For an experience-based business, your goal with your content strategy is to create emotional connection. This is all about that lifestyle. It's about the values. It's about the inner experience of it. And so you're going to really lean into the like style content. Marta, this is where you're leaning right now. Your content is very much about sharing your story and the personal pieces of it. And you're probably creating a lot of like through that. It's very experience style. It's very emotional connection based. When you want to shift to an expertise business, it's about trusted authority. So you're going to lean heavier into that trust style content, especially anybody that's in a business, personal growth, or professional development area. There's a lot of not trust happening for good reason. Most of us have been burnt. Most of us have seen the gurus. Most of us have bought into things and not received what we wanted to. So we really, really have to work to cultivate trust, which means a lot of our content is going to be about proving, our social proof, our education style stuff. It's going to be proving ourselves as trusted authority. That is our content strategies. And then our funnel strategy. I love funnels. These are the structured path you build to help your right fit clients and customers work with you. This is making sure, I like to use the term, you're Googleable. People know exactly where to go and how to get to a point where they are receiving your invitation and they are opting in. Ironically, even though we're business owners, this tends to be the piece that we struggle with the most because we do want people to just kind of come to us and ask to work with us. That feels really good and it saves us from having to feel like we're being pushy. But our job as a business owner and as a CMO is to build the path for them so that they don't have to work against resistance, that they don't have to do the cognitive work of figuring out how to purchase from us. That is our job to do as the business owner. When we talk any funnel, there's 3 stages: awareness, consideration, and conversion. Awareness is about getting your business in front of the right people. It's also about getting your product or service in front of the right people. This is something like dropping it in social media. If you have a social media audience, putting it in front of your audience in your emails. If you don't have your own audience, popping into community groups, Facebook groups. You can use advertisements. It can be getting into networking where you're handing out your business card. That's the first stage where someone becomes aware, A, that you exist, or B, that this is a specific product or service that they can purchase from you. There's always a certain percentage, the people who hit awareness and they become aware that you exist and you have a product or service, a certain percentage of them will go down to consideration. Now they're in a different mindset. This means someone's seriously going, okay, I see, I'm interested. Awareness is always about interest. Their interest is caught. Consideration now, it's a little more logical. They're going to become more discerning. Now your job is to help them decide if you're the right fit. This is where you want to have a dedicated, quite often a landing page or some kind of information product for them to get the specifics they need to consider you. So essentially, and you can think of yourself, anytime you've been wanting to make a purchase, your brain is asking questions. You want to know some more logical pieces here. You want to understand exactly what you're buying into. You want to understand exactly what you're going to get out of it. This is about much more in-depth information than just at the awareness stage. One of the biggest mistakes we tend to make is we'd like put out a social media post with all of the information about whatever we're trying to sell people. And they're not at a consideration stage. Their mind is not asking those questions. So it doesn't make any sense to put that. You just put an awareness piece, which helps them understand what you're offering, and the people who are interested will click over to learn more. This is the same as how it's like, I like to say, it's like going to a networking meeting, sticking your hand out, shaking someone's hand, and going immediately into the long, in-depth pitch about what you do and what you offer and how much it costs and that they should sign up. It just doesn't make any sense. Funnels are built in stages. And the very end is the piece we all love because it brings the money, conversion. This is once you've brought them through awareness and consideration, conversion is just about giving them very, very clear, simple way to take action. A strong call to action, which is a CTA, very simple checkout process, or a discovery and sales call. So conversions are, in marketing jargon, any significant action you get somebody to take. So even getting them into a sales call can be considered a conversion. Then you have the work of having the right conversation. But most of us do feel very confident once we have a conversation with people that the right fit people will want to move forward. So that is what a funnel looks like altogether. Awareness is as simple as dropping something if you have an audience on social media. If you don't, going and finding another audience, and we're going to get into that, into go-to-market, then bringing them into something that's going to give them the right information, whether it's a landing page that details things. You can have a conversation around it if you're willing to have longer conversations, and then giving them a very clear call to action to help them convert. Funnels are quite often one of the things we want the most, but they work much better when we have the other pieces of our content, like the other pieces of our marketing stack. Your content marketing is going to help someone get to know, like, and trust you before they even hit the funnel. That's the really beautiful part of it. So if you're putting out regular stuff on your social media that tells people what you do, a bit of the background story behind it, you let them see a little bit behind the scenes in your personal life, and you're giving them social proof. By the time they see something saying, hey, you can sign up for this with me, and then they get more detailed information, they're already halfway there. So all of this together, the reason it's in a stack is because they all support one another. So you've got your funnel strategy, you have awareness, consideration, and conversion, and it's going to look different depending on the type of business you are. This is the path you want to go. If you are an everyday business like the Bean There Cafe, simple steps to yes. Remember, this is about utility. It's about everyday need. It's about someone being able to get something when they want it, which means they don't want to read a huge long landing page. They don't want to have a 30-minute conversation with you. They just want to be able to go to Google, see you pop up on Google My Business, immediately see your opening hours, immediately see your location, hit the call button if they need to have a call, that type of thing. Really, really simple steps to yes. You do not want a complicated funnel. If you are an everyday business, you will be disqualifying yourself for the job. Experience-based businesses, your funnels are going to be invitations. The moment you start being pushy or start being forceful in your funnels, it's going to feel incongruent. You are showcasing a lifestyle, a way of being. People need to feel like they are opting into the experience, like they are choosing it for themselves, which means your funnels need to be invitations. When you have something coming up, You do a slow tease where you get people excited about the fact that it's coming up. And then when you open up your doors to it, you open it up as an invitation. You let people know, oh, here's the landing page. And it's like sending out a party invite where you're describing what's going to happen. You're setting the tone, you're setting the emotional experience, and you're inviting them in should they choose to. That is the type of funnel you want to build for your experience-based businesses. And as expertise-based businesses, we need to converse to convert. That is the reality, that it is very difficult to sell an expertise style thing unless somebody has had some amount of exposure to you. Especially when we're first starting, you are investing your time in conversations with people. You are getting in the room with them. You are networking. You are offering 30-minute consultations, 15-minute consultations, free consultations, or discovery calls. They need to converse with you if they're going to convert. It doesn't mean you have to always be giving free time. Eventually, as your brand gets established and your reputation gets built, you can pull back and you can do things like recordings, which are a asynchronous type of conversation, but it's still going to be a conversation. You are not going to be able to convert with a simple steps to yes. It does not match the style of business and the type of job you're being hired for. It's a little bit of wiggle room if you move to low-end ticket products, like low-ticket product space where you've packaged up your expertise. But now you're starting to actually water down your brand and you're moving it into an everyday brand, which you could do, but you're going to lose the focus. So really, if you have decided your positioning is going to be expertise, get ready to have conversations. That's what people need. If you're going to be an experience-based business, you are sending out invitations, and invitations need to be sent out far beforehand. That is a big piece of it. You need to really be mindful, like as if you're inviting people to a dinner party. How would you do that? You would set the stage, you would set the tone, you would give them lots of time, you would really listen to the feedback. Yeah, 8 months to a year. I am horrible for this. This is why I literally threw this on social media to sign up last week. Like, I am so bad for this. I am expertise all the way. And everyday businesses, you need to be clear and simple. People need to take very simple steps to get to yes, because they have a need and they have it now. They are not going to read a whole huge landing page talking about how amazing your product or your business is. And our final strategy is our go-to-market strategy. This is the one that is probably the most important when we're building our business, but the least known about. I don't know why it hasn't crossed over from marketing into small business, but it's not a concept most small business owners know. And it's one of the most crucial marketing strategies we have. So your go-to-market strategy is a structured way to get your business in front of the right people, which I'm sure if we all listed one of our main problems right now is that I need more people knowing about my product or my service or my business. And the way we do that is our go-to-market strategy. Take a drink. When we say go to market, there's going to be 3 ways we can go to market. We can buy our way to market, we can borrow our way to market, or we can build our way. Essentially, we're going to build our own market. We tend to want to use build, and I'm going to explain why, but the one that works the most and the best that I have seen at the beginning is always borrow. Okay, Karu, we'll see you later. So buying is investing in targeted ads to reach new customers quickly. It works really well when it's paired with strong messaging and offers. So this is one of those things where I like businesses to keep it in their back pocket after they've been using their content marketing for a while, because what's going to happen is organic social media is free to test. If you put out a post and nothing happens, it's fine. You haven't put money behind it. After you put out enough posts, you're going to get a sense of what resonates with your audience, and then you can use that for an ad. It's very difficult to nail the right messaging right out of the gate, especially if you're not a marketer. If you don't understand how to craft really strong messaging, the best way to get there is to test it. So before we put ad spend behind something, we always want to make sure it has a strong message, and we want to make sure our product or service is something our market is actually going to want. So buying your way to an audience is really, really helpful when you have the budget that you can put behind it and you've tested your messaging. Really, really great. It's like turning on a tap and turning off a tap. It starts to help really stabilize the business, but it's better to wait to get into this. And examples of that is going to be Facebook and Instagram ads. I love online ads because you can do it for as cheap as 10 or 20 bucks a month. Like you can really, there's a lot of wiggle room with the budget there. Print ads tend to be more expensive, but they're highly effective at creating local awareness. And then sponsored placements at local events, that type of thing. Anything you're putting money behind is buying your way to an audience. Borrowing is getting visibility by tapping into other people's audiences. This is the one I find that works the best at the beginning. It doesn't take budget that we don't have. It just takes connection and human capital, which tends to be something we don't mind doing. We like to connect with other business owners. We like to find ways to collaborate so it feels more fulfilling. It's also more effective because what happens is if someone else is willing to put you in front of their audience, they're vouching for you. So there's a built-in level of social proof, and it really helps to elevate your brand and your reputation very quickly. Examples of this are things like guest training or speaking engagements, collaborations with complementary businesses, podcasts, or blog features. This one can be done regardless of the style of business you are. It doesn't have to be just expertise. We're going to go into that at the end. This is the strongest one. If you haven't been leaning into this yet, try to really think, what are some ways I can borrow other people's audiences? This is even networking. This is finding an audience that some group has built and they've set up networking events. That's someone else's audience. So when you opt in to go to that event, you're actually borrowing their audience. So really start brainstorming ways to do this. If one of your goals is to have more leads or customers, which I would bet chocolate everybody on this call, that's one of our goals. And the last one, which is the one we tend to try to want to do, we wish this could be the way we do it, and it does work, but there's certain criteria around it, is build. If you're going to build your own audience rather than buy access to an audience or borrow someone else's audience, this means you're going to use your content marketing, like social media and email, to grow your own loyal customer base over time. That's the caveat. This takes a long time. This is not like, oh, I put out some social media posts and now I have 3 clients. It doesn't work that way. This can take anywhere between 6 months to a year, and it takes content skills. You need to go through the process of learning how to make the content and how to keep yourself making the content and what kind of content. So it's viable and it works, but it takes a higher level of skill set and it takes a longer time than borrowing, which is why I always suggest people focus on the borrow. If your concern right now is getting cash in the door, lean into borrow. If you have a long time and you can play around with stuff, lean into build. But you want to do one of those 3. You want buy, borrow, or build as your go-to-market strategy. And examples for build are content series on social media, weekly email newsletter, exclusive community, or Facebook group. There's lots of ways we can build our own audience. And after we get out of that immediate cash injection need, we should always be building an audience. But at the very, very beginning, if your focus is on making sure you have new clients and new customers, go into borrow. So when we look at a go-to-market strategy from the different points of view of our different businesses, everyday businesses like the Bean There Cafe, their go-to-market strategy is going to be known locally. That is the goal. They want to make sure people in their local town know about them. There's a high level of awareness. If someone says, hey, what are the cafes in town? The Bean There Cafe always pops up. An experience-based business, your go-to-market strategy is going to be join the group. Somewhere in your community are groupings of people who share the lifestyle that you're inviting people into, or an adjacent lifestyle. There's always a lot of overlapping factors. Your goal for go-to-market is to find where they are and to find ways to join them, whether that's through sponsored ads, through partnerships, through attending the events. You need to join the group whose lifestyle is the lifestyle that you're inviting people into, or an adjacent one. And the third one is for us expertise businesses, you need to get in the room. It's expertise. Because expertise tends to be a higher price point, we tend to have a higher profit margin. It requires more direct investments, which means we need to get in the room. It can be the virtual room. It can be the in-person room. It can be a one-on-one room. It can be a lot of people in a room. But we really need to be present in the room so that people can recognize us and we can start building connections. You can invite yourself into the room, or you can DM, or you can send someone an email and you can ask to have a conversation with them. You're now in a Zoom room with them. You can regularly attend networking events. You can attend conferences, But your go-to-market strategy is that you yourself need to go out and get into the room with the decision makers. That's the other criteria that can be difficult for us, is that the decision makers are often not where we want them to be. And we're frustrated because like, well, I'm networking, but everyone I'm talking to is like, oh, well, I don't make that decision. Well, then you need to find what rooms the decision makers are in and how to get into those rooms with them. Really quick little tip here. And Jade, I think you'll appreciate this especially. You can make your own value to draw them into the room with you. So one of the things I'm working on is I am about to start a podcast, partially as an information piece that I can share and I can just talk, which is lovely. I love to talk, clearly. The other piece is that I can now send out emails to people I want to create strategic partnerships with. And I can say, hey, I have a podcast. I'd love to have you guest on it and tell me what you're working on and your view of economic development in Southern Ontario. And now suddenly those decision makers have a reason to be in the room with me. I am not knocking on their door, but like, can I come in and play, please? Instead, I'm inviting them into the room with me. So either way, you need to get in the room with them. So those are our strategies all together. And now I'm going to show you what it looks like when we put them together for the marketing stack for these businesses. So I want you to see that even though we're working with the same pieces, brand, content, funnel, and go to market, when you specialize them to your type of business, it starts to make a lot of sense. And you start to see how they can be very different and very powerful. So for our Bean There Cafe, our little local coffee shop, and our everyday business, their go-to-market, their goal is they need to be known locally. So they're not going to hyper focus on things online necessarily unless it's tied to being known locally. So they're going to be heavily involved in their community Facebook groups. They're going to make sure they have a presence there. They're focusing there. They're showing up there with value. They're not spamming, but they're showing up in the city Facebook groups because that's where the local people are online. They're also going to be involved with local events. This is going to help them build awareness in their local city. That is their go-to-market focus. Their brand, utility. So they're going to be friendly, reliable, and have a community feel. They need to show people that they are going to be great to stop in every day, which means reliability is going to be a big piece of that, of making them a utility. Their content, consistent information. So they're going to share daily specials. They're going to share team photos. They're not going to go into long diatribes about the beauty of the roasted coffee bean. That could be a little fun piece. But mostly they're going to focus on little steady micro drips of steady information. So their presence in the lives of their consumers are going to mirror the same way they want the consumers to use their product. It's going to build the same kind of energy with them. And their funnel, simple steps to yes, they're going to focus on Google My Business and their SEO. They're going to make sure when someone types in cafes in the city, the Bean There Cafe with a full 5-star Google My Business and product photos and their hours is going to show up immediately. Simple steps to yes. This is what their marketing stack looks like. And when you see it laid out like this, I hope it seems so clear. It's like, yeah, well, of course, that makes sense for this type of business. And that's the beauty of following the marketing stack, where I know it's a lot of information and I'm giving you a lot of information, but if you just follow it, you end up with this, which seems like that's not rocket science. And the intelligence is in the clarity of it, of how much it makes sense at the end for that kind of business. For our Zenden, our experience-based business, they're all about the lifestyle, right? So when they build their marketing stack, their go-to-market is they're going to look for adjacent businesses, maybe a fitness clothing line that's locally made, and they're going to build partnerships with them. They're also going to go put a little bit of an ad spend in a lifestyle magazine because they know for sure their target audience is reading that magazine, so it's worth the ad spend for them. Their brand, which is a lifestyle brand, is going to be about calm, reflective, and holistic. This is about really inviting people into this lifestyle. Their content, which is going to be about emotional connection, they're going to lean into Instagram, emotional reels, and stories. This is where they're going to be sharing their personal journey. They're going to be sharing the emotional parts of it, the holistic parts of it. And their funnel, they're going to be focused on invitations. So trial classes, right? We're not going to lock you in. We're going to invite you in to experience this. And they're going to literally use those words, invitation. Something like a trial class, email nurturing, where they get to experience the setup of the event. They get to experience the buildup and the anticipation, and they're being invited into sharing the experience. Very different marketing stack from the Being There Cafe, because they are a very different business. If you're looking to hire someone to give you an experience-based type of opportunity, you have an experience-based job in your life, these people feel like a fit. This business feels like a fit, where the Everyday Cafe, the Being There Cafe, it wouldn't feel like the same fit if what you were hungry for was something that made you feel more like yourself. This is how we stack it all up, and it becomes strong marketing that helps us connect with our market and helps us create that feedback loop and that synergy, which means that we're getting the income and the revenue that we need. Expertise-based business. This is our Clearview Consulting, our optometry consultant. When she builds her marketing stack, coming at it from the expertise angle, her go-to-market, she's going to be speaking. She's going to be doing podcasts, which I recognize I wrote incorrectly, and she's going to be networking. She knows she needs to get in the room, so she's focused on that. For her brand, she needs to be a thought leader. So she's showing that she's a system builder, that she's experienced, and that she's a professional. She's not talking about her lifestyle and her own personal journey so much. It's more, here is my thought leadership. You can trust me. Her content, trusted authority. So she's going to be leaning into things that are educational. She's going to be sharing case studies. She's going to be sharing industry news, because that shows I am a trusted authority in this topic. You can feel safe moving forward with me. And her funnel, converse to convert. So she's going to be offering those 30-minute consultations. Hop on a call with me. Let's have a chat. It doesn't even have to be a sales call. That's the beautiful thing about this. If you're actually deep in your industry and you love serving people, you'll get on a call with them, and just going back and forth, they'll see your intellect and they'll see your thought leadership, and they'll then want to move forward. So those are the differences. That's the way, when you follow these paths that I'm sending you down, once you get there and you've built your systems, this is how congruent and strong they become at the end. Takes time. Nothing is done easily, or quickly. What is it? Easy, quick, cheap. You can have two, you can't have all three, and it's not worth it. But now that I've been able to send you in the right direction, you don't have to waste time trying to climb up mountains that you don't have the resources for, or you're headed off on one path that's going to lead you into a application for a job that isn't the job you want to have. So today's takeaways are: marketing isn't something we have, it's something we do. Please put your marketing meetings in your calendars. Start it, even if you don't stick to them yet. Get the intention and start building towards that. The 4 core strategies that make up our marketing stack are your brand, your content, your funnels, and your go-to-market. And each strategy looks different for each business type, but they're not super complex. We just want to be direct, and we want to be intentional with them. To recap, the 3 days you have given me, which thank you very much for your time and focus. We went through our business market fit. We have a sense of which type of business we are. We understand we're being hired to do a job by our industry or our community. We're not selling a product or service, we're solving a problem. Our market fit confidence, we're either a jobbyist or we're a small business owner. If we want to be a small business owner, we need to build our systems, because sales don't make our business, systems actually make our business. And in order to do our systems well, we need to start with the right strategies, which is what we went through here with the marketing stack. Each type of business has a different type of strategy that we follow, but you just build it brick by brick, and eventually you end up at that endpoint, like our 3 example businesses, where it's like, that makes sense. That completely is a full system that's going to bring in, it's going to generate their leads, and it's going to convert their leads for them. Nothing is 100% right off the bat. You build it, you test it, you refine it, you make it richer, you make it stronger. But knowing that these are the pieces you need to build saves you from venturing off into all of the other areas that we could possibly go into. And there's lots of expansion as our business expands, but this is the core we want to build. Okay, that is my spiel. I'm going to take myself off of Spotlight. And if anybody has any questions, I'm going to open the chat too. A couple minutes left. I'm impressed I got through that all that quickly. I hope I didn't overwhelm everybody. Okay, any questions, any feedback, anything that you guys want to add in before we shut down?
Maybe this is too deep in terms of layers, Cheyenne, but for context for everybody else, I'm the consultant. But I was just thinking about this, and tell me what your thoughts are, because I do speaking mainly. My tricky part right now is I get that piece of my funnel, my system, getting people in there, working them through there, but then trying to almost recycle or keep using like the members that I'm speaking in front of, would then they, if I've got that one system down and the expertise running well, it sounds like the people that I might be trying to collect from the other one are more like the experience
Yeah.
column. Am I right there? And that's going to be like a completely different shift and a whole new learning curve, it sounds like.
You also have a division between organizations, and
Yeah.
I'm using the term consumers,
Yeah.
where you have your products and services that you're offering for the organizations,
Mhm.
but then you have consumers that you have a more direct service that you can offer them. So you're both are actually going to lean into the expertise, but for the consumer, there will be a more dominant element of the experience. So you are going to want to show them what it looks like experientially to move into one of your containers. So it's a little more nuanced. You definitely want to bring in both of those. And then the languaging changes. I know we've talked about this. Your
Yeah.
messaging for organizational is going to be highly logical. You're speaking to their organizational pain points. And then your messaging for your expertise-based businesses are going to be more of that invitation to
Mhm.
move into something, to invest in themselves, and to move through their emotional blocks.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being my muse for my consulting example.
Anytime.
Any other questions for anything we have before we go? We got a couple of minutes. If anybody is like, ooh, that I know quite a few of you are in containers with me or I'm working one-on-one. If you're looking at this going, this was great, but I want to actually build it, feel free to send me an email and we can talk about that. Also, I'm going to send out the last email with the last replay link, and any feedback you have for me, please send it my way. I'm going to use it to, I developed this training for an organization, but I wanted to run it live so that I could put some of that value out there. So any feedback you have to give me, I'll be able to use to show them that, no, people really actually do get a lot of value out of this. I know it's a lot of information, and that's, I keep trying to pull it back, but I don't think I'm capable of it. I think this is my brand signature that I'm just going to give people a lot of information at one time. It's just who I am and what I do.
Cheyenne, it's Keith here. Just curious, the experience level. We're an experienced business, my wife and I. We have a B&B. Is that an area of market expertise that you have delved into where you promoted, help market, and develop the brand? We've got about a 3-year effort in place. We have amazing reviews, all 5 and 10 star reviews. We have about
Nice.
65 on Google. We've got stuff on TripAdvisor, also on Expedia. We're connected with them. So like we've got right across the board all top fives or top tens. So one thing is we're not able to really capitalize on that. Like our bookings this year are really low. So I'm not trying to go specific here. I'm just trying to understand your capability or experience in dealing with an experience-based business like ours. And is that an opportunity that may be a potential to work with you on to better market ourselves, especially not for the summertime. Our summertimes are pretty
Yeah.
heavily booked. It's the shoulder seasons where we need to start looking at how to make more experience-based engagements. And that's where I'm trying to understand. You've given a lot of great examples. I appreciate it. Trying to figure out where to go to the next step.
So, two of my longest running businesses that I've worked with are owned by the same client. One is a gym, which is heavily experience based. The other is a hotel that has converted into short-term rentals. So I know this area well, especially how you have such a huge shift in what's happening depending on the seasons. And during the summer, like you said, you don't need to market. It fills itself. The market is already active in that direction. And then when you move into the colder seasons, you have to start creating incentives to bring them in. It's almost like you become a little mini tourist board. You have to draw them in, and the people who are coming in, you have to really position yourself so that the people who are investing in short-term rentals are seeing you first and foremost, because there is still a market that's happening. It's just, it's no longer so saturated that you don't have to be aggressive in your positioning. It means that you want to see the people. What market are you in? What's your geographic location?
Geographically, we're on the Rideau Canal system, so we're in Westport, Ontario. So we're right on the big Rideau. Oh, sorry, Upper Rideau, I should say, and right in the heart of the village of Westport. So right into the core of what all is going on in this area. The
Nice.
shoulder seasons are the challenge of drawing people out, and we seem to get a lot of people who are in the either 55 plus range, or it's the casual or the celebration experience. And that's what we can capitalize on more in the fall and the spring. We're trying to figure that part of it out, because in the summer, it's the experience. Everybody just wants to get away, have a place to go, enjoy. The other part of it is in the off seasons is getting that more of that celebratory engagements for people to want to see us. And we do get them, but marketing that has been our miss. We've done different ways of going after it, but we've missed on that.
I would really look into what your regional marketing board is focusing on in the shoulder seasons and what other experience-based businesses around you who have similar level of brand are focusing on, and find potential ways to partner with them. Because the people who are coming in during those seasons, they're probably already seeing your marketing board, and they're probably already seeing some of those other businesses. So if you can go to market by partnering with them, it'll help you connect with the people who are already coming in.
Okay, appreciate that insight.
Okay, we'll close it down. Thank you, everybody. This has been great. I've really appreciated the focus and the attention. I know I give a lot, and I really appreciate you guys lending me your brains for 3 days. Have a great day.